recording. Hello, everyone. Hello, welcome. Hello. We're gonna go ahead and get started. But first off, I do kind of want to make this kind of a big deal, make it kind of interesting, all that kind of stuff. But this guy, I've been playing Hammond. I think I've. Let me look at my hours on Hammond so far. I have all modes. I have 15 hours on Hammond on live servers. Now, there's a good point in that. That is live servers. In other words, I had 25 hours non-custom game. It was all quick play and everything else on the PTR server before he came out. So at the moment, we've hit the 40-hour mark on Hammond. That's a pretty big deal. So really happy with that, and subsequently, because of that, you know where I'm going. You know where I'm going. We're doing it. We're doing it. Ready? I was gonna do it on Lucio, but screw it. Screw it. We're getting it locked, equip, all that stuff. Ooh, golden weapons on Hammond looks nice. Too nice, I might say. Hey, Buzz, how's it going? Teach you how to be competitive. I know this might be redundant for some people. This is more meant... Oh, golden weapons look nice. Let's see how it looks in the air. Yeah. Yeah, let me just roll around real quick on Hammond. We are going to be going on to the PTR and just be running around on Busan in the background as I talk. Just kind of give you guys a background thing. Let me go ahead and switch to the AFK stream. Exit the desktop and switch over to PTR. And while I'm doing that, we're going to go ahead and actually get started for real now. Yeah, so if you're watching on YouTube, welcome. If you're watching on Twitch, welcome. If you have any questions during this process of I call just basically a podcast setting and such, but like in Twitch and YouTube level, please put in the comments or chat, whatever. I'll answer them as soon as I can and help you out as much. Yes, today is we're gonna be doing competitive. Let's go back to game. It's loaded up. Yeah, so we're gonna be talking about being competitive in Overwatch and all of that stuff. And let's go ahead and set up a custom game real quick so I can mess around with Hammond in Busan. Let's see. Busan. Oh, by the way, fun fact, I did do a joke that I think every one of my friends sent me a thing going like, this is insane news and stuff like that. I posted it on Twitter. And it got a little awkward because it was 100% a joke, but it wasn't a joke. Where I said that they changed the colors to represent each team on Busan. Where instead of blue and red, it's done by north and south, as well as you can tie the last map, which is kind of funny. It has to be at the 45th parallel, though. No exceptions. All Korean War references. Fun stuff. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. I am just going to be running around in here as in the background. I am not doing STRAT CHAT yet on this map. For one reason only. This is why. No. What's that? Let me see. Did they already fix it? Yep. Boom. No, they didn't fix it. There's a very low skybox on this one, and it basically changes up who is viable based off of this. And I want to do a STRAT CHAT on it once Blizzard has defined if this is intentional or not, and are going to fix it. Overall, not too bad. Okay, so Buzz, competitive as in mindset or as in ladder? Competitive as in mindset. Ladder, I'll be honest, ladder is like the number one thing I am not qualified. Mainly just because I'm gold. So, I can't really, I think teaching anyone on how to be good on ladder is just kind of mean. Yeah, let's go ahead and get started. I just realized something kind of entertaining. My microphone is blocking my notes, which is stupid. Let me fix that. Let me go ahead and fix that. So yeah, we're going to be talking about being competitive, and we're going to be talking about, first off, competitive mindset, and that's where Buzz kind of hit a good point. Competitive mindset, you need to be aware of the meta, and for those who aren't familiar with what meta is or the term, I have talked to people that haven't, so if any of you are watching are like, who doesn't? Mainly you have to realize that some people don't know that stuff. And the best way to find this stuff out is to be very active in what's going on in the community. I know you can get across there. You need to be very active in what is good, what's not. Oh, poor little Hammond. And the best way to do this is to basically look at and see what the pros are doing. There's a lot of stuff that the pros do that you can do, and then there's also a lot of things that the pros do that you can't do, especially depending on ranking and stuff like that. A lot of weird ledges here. But yeah, so after that, you need to actually have more of a mindset. Actually, I should go ahead and start talking more about like how to find meta, and best ways are looking up tournaments, and there's a couple of them out there. There is, of course, we have the Overwatch League, which is the most prevalent. We have Contenders, which is still going on now and is probably the most technically the most connective at the moment because of patch-wise, and that's just updates for those that aren't familiar with patches and stuff like that. That's what a patch is. It's just updates to the game and stuff like that. So being aware of what's been changed as well, patch-wise. So like, for example, in the last patch, Ana got a buff. And the buff basically made it so that she can, if I remember right, her ultimate gives 300 extra health to whoever you use it on, which is pretty convenient, pretty much overall. And so like learning that kind of stuff and identifying it is pretty good. And then you'll see other teams start using that kind of stuff. There's strategies out there that high-level teams use, which is really good overall, and can allow you to learn a bunch of stuff. I actually like that attachment to the top. And then after that, you want to be learning about the game yourself. You can just like watch YouTube videos and analysis. I do suggest you take YouTube with a grain of salt, though. If you're watching this on YouTube, I know this might be kind of like funny, but a lot of the times YouTubers don't have that big of a grasp, and their perspective is looking through the lens of pros and what pros are doing, and it's not always correct in the same sense because it's based off of interpretation, because they don't have direct line to the pro players. So be aware about that kind of strategy and stuff like that. YouTube, though, is a good source for little tidbits of information, and I will guarantee you, at some point you'll see conflicting information in YouTube videos. So ideas aren't going to always be the same. So make sure you're doing that. And this is a good way to find out meta, because they will highlight, especially if you don't have time to watch pros play, they will highlight certain things and kind of go from there. Then there's some other YouTubers. I know some good ones are IOStux, but he's doing XL2 at the moment. There's one that's like Dojo. That one's not bad for just like player development. Your Overwatch is getting better. They used to be really bad. I will say people who are pretty bad now. Stylosa, honestly, is actually highest on the list there. Nice guy, entertaining, all that stuff, but sometimes he just gets it a little bit off. And so that's always difficult. Oh, I'm at 150 ping. Well, I'm streaming, that's why. But yeah, just learn all that stuff, and then we now get on to VOD reviews. And so VOD reviews are the next step, and you want to be looking at what you're doing in the game as well, and analyzing that as well as analyzing what other people play. So a good example is going on Twitch and finding these pro players, and this is where like knowing meta and like getting familiar with the game itself and who plays it. You can find people like XQC, you can find people like DeFran, all those people that are good at the game that you can learn from. I think even Custa, a good one is Kabaji. He does a lot of good player coaching style stuff while playing the game, and he's pretty good at the game too. And so learning through other people's perspective, as well as you can do it with your own. So a fun thing you can do is, if you have the ability to record your games, which I highly suggest, record your games. And so like people on Xbox and all that stuff, you can take clips of specific moments if you want to. It gets a little more difficult. There is capture systems, so you can get a capture card on your computer that allows you to record stuff to your computer. And then there's also external capture cards like the Elgato that I own that you can use for console stuff. On PC, OBS is probably your #1 use, but if you're having problems getting OBS to work, there's other programs out there. The only other one that I know exists is Shadowplay, and that one goes with NVIDIA, so if you have an NVIDIA graphics card, that helps out. But I also suggest just checking out of like screen capture devices to just and programs to record yourself. And doing VOD reviews yourself is pretty good. A good practice is to watch other people's VOD reviews, because then you can learn what things to look out for and all that stuff. Good VOD review people are Jane, and then there's another guy, one amongst many, does some pretty good stuff there. And he does good VOD reviews. I think the difference between the two is Jane is more positional and fundamental, whereas one amongst many is more about theory. He's a good theory crafter, which is pretty good. Each of them separately, pretty good, highly recommend. And so it'll allow you to kind of look and see what they see, and then you can watch other people's games, so like even pro plays, and basically try to figure out in your head how they did it right, and likewise how they did it wrong. And so it's understanding all of that stuff and getting better at that. It's just understanding good things, bad things. A good example that I like to do is I like to have reasons. So I like to have reasons for why things are the way they are and why things aren't the way they are. And so be able to, don't just take things as word, just be able to understand and explain it. And explaining is like half the battle. So like high ground. Understand why high ground's good. High ground's a pretty fundamental thing. But understand why it's good, and in some cases why it's not good. Because it can honestly change. Many of that stuff can change and move around and stuff. A good example is Nepal, I believe Sanctum, the indoor map. There's a spot on there where there's that little high ground bridge area that goes to the opposite side of the point. That high ground's pretty bad. And the reason is because the staircase behind them provides more cover than the high ground does. The high ground just gives you a pedestal. Granted, the pillars do give cover, and that would be the only thing for it, but it's not high enough to actually give you an advantage. Examples are like right here. It's good because people can't get to it that easily, and you have to be a little more difficult to it. But I think you might be able to Can you super jump over here? I think, let me give it a chance. There's a place you can super jump as Hammond. Let me see. But yeah, just understand VOD reviews and then getting to understanding what you are doing. So basically go through, record your stuff, and figure out how you can do stuff better. And don't just think about how you missed a shot. Don't look at mistakes, because you'll automatically know mistakes. Like, oh, I should have hit that shot. I'm bad. I need to get better at hitting shots. Everyone needs to get better at hitting shots. I don't think there's someone that's like, yeah, you're good with aim. Don't worry about aiming anymore. It's never going to happen. And so just understanding that and getting better there is always good. Other stuff. Things to look for. There's things to look for. Look at positioning. Also look at dying. Why you die. Figure that stuff out. Positioning wise, people will just constantly use the buzzword of you have bad positioning, and I think there's a good moment from one of Jane's live streams where someone said that positioning is like a girlfriend of like you'll want to go do something. It's like, oh yeah, there's not really any specific thing I want to go to, and then you pick a spot and it's like, actually no, that place is bad or whatever. It's not really the best kind of explanation, but it can kind of be understandable for some people. The main idea is that you can have definitive places for positioning, but it just depends on your hero. You want to be able to escape, you want to be able to have cover, and you want to be able to have a positional advantage that makes it harder for the other team to get to you. Sometimes, and you want optimal range. Optimal range is another one. So for example, positionally, Reaper, if you take out optimization, you want him as far back as possible because no one can get to him. You want him near a health pack because he can get away, and you want him behind cover so that no one can shoot him. But when you actually think about that, that's pretty bad positioning to have him that far back. Optimal position trumps that, just straight up. And it's because it's what position gets you the most value. And so, like, Widow, high ground in the back line. Ana, high ground in the back line. Lucio, with his team. Reaper, with his team. Reinhardt, in front of his team. Because he gets value. They get value out of damage and healing people close up and shielding people close up, which is always good. And so setting that stuff up. Let's see if I can bounce off this roof. Yeah, there we go. And you can get over the other side. Fun stuff. So yeah, VOD review, doing that stuff. Learn how to VOD review and then VOD review yourself. And you'll just do this. Once you like get into the VOD review mood, you can just do this regularly. If you don't want to learn VOD reviewing and stuff like that, there are coaches out there. I know there's private coaches. I know I did some private coaching a while back, but I don't have time anymore because of school and teams and stuff like that I'm already with. Private coaching just doesn't happen that much unless it's within my team. So there's that for an example. But yeah, getting coaching to look through it, getting a different perspective to look at what you do. And if you do get another perspective, always ask them for a reason of why something happens. Because if they just say, oh yeah, bad positioning, ask them where they should have been and why. And that'll help out there too. And then constructive practice. There's a big difference between constructive practice and pretty much anything else. So the reason why I say constructive, so practice, everyone knows, is just playing. And it's good to have that kind of practice where you're just playing and you're just learning how the game works. And of course, getting better aim, better mechanics and all that stuff. All that is better. But the problem is if you're making a mechanical mistake, whereas bad habits, the more you play, the harder it is for you to get out of those habits. And so the constructive practice is where you're practicing for a purpose. And so when you're practicing, you want to get better. Don't just play the game like you did before. That just cements habits. If you want to get better, you want to push yourself in certain directions, and take on thresholds. So let me go ahead, change to a different hero so that I can actually give a good example. So let's think of Anna. Let's talk about Anna. So Anna, if you want to practice her, so the thing to not do, this is not to do, is just go in, play, heal, shoot some people, do whatever you do, use all that stuff. Bad things to do. Don't just go in and play like you regularly play her. Go in and play her differently. So for example, if you play up near the front, which could be good or bad, if you're like on the point all the time and shooting, do that. And then figure out the thing that you don't do that often. So for example, if you hip fire and just stay on the point, then what you want to do is for a couple of games in quick play, can easily be quick play, you want to be in a better position in the back and using only scope shots, and then put limits on yourself mentally. So just be like, I'm only going to heal, or I'm only going to do damage, and just stuff like that. And work on getting that stuff down, and then figuring out where's the best spot for each. And you'll notice this. If you can only heal and you see a Pharah right here and you can't shoot her, then you start hurting inside because you think, I need to be shooting her. And that's where learning comes into play, is when you are missing something that can give you a lot of value. So for example, if you're only taking shots and someone needs a lot of health, then you can rotate to shoot them to get more health. But you need to see those opportunities, and by able to see those opportunities, you need to see them miss. You need to miss those opportunities and know that they missed. And so that's all of that kind of stuff. So also as well, using your grenades aggressively, using them passively, using sleep dart aggressively, using it passively, just changing things up and changing how you play them and figure out how it best suits for you. Likewise, be able to analyze and understand. If you're just going like, yeah, I'm just being super aggressive. Fun fact, it is never the best thing to be super passive or super aggressive. Both of them aren't that good. You need to have a good balance and a good control of it. And we did cover this in my aggression video. It wasn't a strat chat, but we did cover that. Channeling aggression. This is where a lot of this teaching comes into play. Likewise, you have Genji, where good things to work on is using left clicks in range and then trying to do one-shot combos. So if you get up to a person, right-click, dash, and then dash right-click, and just kind of use it and try to aim for headshots and all that stuff. And so setting that stuff up is really, really good overall, because it allows you to figure out the different aspects of a hero and then morph them into one. And so it just so nice overall, because you get to mix it and get a better understanding. Likewise with Lucio, using speed boost more often, using healing, spending your time trying to tank damage, spending your time trying to peel, just changing those play styles around and changing them around for the team you're going up against. If they're playing dive or tank or stuff like that, understand that as well. And then now, that's all just the competitive mindset, getting into learning the game, and a lot of it is learning the game, learning how things work, what things are good, reading patch notes, all of that stuff, practicing constructively, and you will do fine there. But then what if you want to be a part of a team? And that's where we're going into competitive mindset. And this is where we kind of veer off of the solo queue mentality, and we go into more of the group queue, how to be a part of a team more. And so to find a team, there's a bunch of different options. So join a community, basically. So for example, there's communities on Reddit. There's the LFG system that you can use to possibly find people. There's, I think there was a thing that we use. The team I'm on used, and it was kind of like a Tinder for, or whatever, for Overwatch, and it showed different players playing and stuff like that. But yeah, setting that stuff up, finding people to play with, and it can honestly be friends, it can be people local with you, it can be online, it can be in different countries, all that stuff. Working with a group and figuring stuff out, having roles assigned, so coaches, DPS players, projectile DPS players, supports, certain tanks, main tank, all that stuff, getting those aligned, and then learning how to play the game together, seeing what teams are doing, and all that stuff. And then once you're in those areas, the best way to work with that is to communicate. Make sure that you're communicating all the time, talking with your team and learning stuff, because in a team setting, you want to act like a supercomputer. You want to make decisions that will benefit you the mostly, focusing targets, and then getting into certain positions, and then you want everyone on your team to be aware of this stuff at that time. So you want them to know what's going on, and it's so that they can basically prepare themselves and get them ready and all that stuff. So just communication in general is pretty good. Pretty good overall. And so yeah, communications, and then what you want to do is you want to actually play against teams. So there's different tournament levels, and then there's a thing called scrimmages. Let's talk about tournaments. If you are in college, there is TESPA. If you just want to play to have fun, there's Overwatch Open. A bunch of different places. I suggest going on to Google and looking up Overwatch tournaments and figuring that stuff out. All, like 99% of them are all online. Some of them are, of course, on LAN in person, but those are pretty high level, bigger ones that are difficult in general. So you kind of want to get that together, and figuring that stuff out. Scrim wise, find other teams and teams you can play with. Get onto different community servers, so same thing, Reddit, Discord servers, friends, and figuring out who you can play against and setting all that stuff up, which is pretty nice overall. Let's see if I can do a side swing. Yeah. Side swings aren't that good apparently on that one. So yeah, team put together and then learning communication. Covered that. And the other thing you want to do is get administrative side. So kind of setting up leaders, all that stuff, setting up, just getting administrative together. You can get fancy and get like uniforms, whatever, fun stuff for your team, and get that all together. And then just overall be aware of what's going on. Don't go blind, just be aware. And being in communities, you're more aware because the people in your community will give you information that they see as well, because that's pretty much in-game and out-of-game overall. And then make sure that you guys review yourself so you can get better. So if you are scrimming and you're playing competitive games and you're just doing the same, you want to actually do better. So you want to look and see what you're doing and either have a coach or do it yourselves, or figure out how you can get better. Now going with that, even if you're not professionals, not getting paid, if you're just volunteers, have a professional mindset. You want to go in and you want to win. You don't want to go in and lose, and no one on your team wants to go in and lose. Likewise, you don't want to be the jerk or anything like that. You want to be professional, because if you were getting paid, you wouldn't be given a lot of leeway. And so that's a big thing that a lot of people lose, and a common thing that I hear of no review because we don't want people to feel bad about themselves. I've seen that before, of no VOD reviews because we don't want to hurt their ego or stuff like that. And it's never good for that, because you want to be reviewing all the time, and the people that can't take it shouldn't be actually being competitive in the first place, because that's not competitive, that's just joyriding. There's Overwatch competitive mode, not actual competitive that they can be in. Taking a drink. Professionalism is pretty big. And so that's all stuff with team tactics, and now we are on the tail end, and it is research. So right now what we are doing is we are researching stuff you can do with Hammond. And this is just research map based because there's a new map out, and researching and testing. And I'm saying "and" a lot. Ugh. That's just disgusting. But just figuring out what is viable and what is not, and having, like, for example, this map, having a skybox issue is something to keep in mind, because you can't just constantly be running and playing and all that stuff. Skybox issues are a thing that you need to know. You can learn this from a variety of things, live streams of people, your own testing, word of mouth of people talking to you and stuff like that, is all there. Testing wise, for example, whenever something new comes out that has possibly different interactions than others, I go in, I pull up a document, and I start testing things. And the more I learn, the more I add to it, and I keep track of stuff. Hammond, I have like a 5-page document that goes through every single detail of Hammond and figuring out how he moves, what his damage is, all that stuff. And learning how the character ticks, as well as learn how the map ticks, all of that stuff. Yay, different map. We can do something else. Woohoo. Yeah, getting all that down is pretty good. Viewing your team as well. Viewing things in general. Viewing what other people are doing, what other people see. And of course, testing yourself. So good things to do is testing. Get a friend. Set that stuff up. Practice range is pretty good because you can see the damage numbers that you can deal. And then learning how cooldowns are managed and all that stuff is pretty good overall. I like this pillar. So that's a lot of the stuff with research. Is just learning how the game's played. I was gonna see if I could get on that train. Learning how the game's played at high level and how you can play in that. And that kind of gets us into the next level of it, is to be competitive. You can't stagnate. You're only as good as the team that you watch or practice to be. So for example, if you are watching Overwatch League and you are looking at all this tactics and stuff like that of, let's say, the team that won, London Spitfire, you're looking at all their tactics, how they play and all that stuff, and you're going to carbon copy that to your strategy. And I'm kind of implying that there's something wrong with this entire thing. And the main thing is you'll never be better than the London Spitfire at that time you wanted to become them. And that's the big thing, is you'll never become better than them when you viewed them. They're getting better now because they're practicing getting better. but you are becoming them. Like, let's say you're analyzing the Overwatch League stuff they just did, and you are trying to figure out the best way to play and all that stuff. So you've analyzed them, you learn the best way to play. You're going to carbon copy how they play. Fun fact, Overwatch League got done in July. It is August, which means that strategy is a month old. So if you are going to be doing that, you are going to be running a month behind. Guaranteed, things have already changed. New supports, new hero, as I'm spinning around, all this different stuff. So always do research and always think. Think about stuff. Think about different ways to do stuff. Think about viability and all of that stuff. Understand why things work and why things don't, and question. Because sometimes, I think, I'm trying to remember, there's been some good examples in the past. So like Ana was a good one that just was so confusing why people didn't like her. And the big reason why Ana wasn't played when she came out was because everyone, besides a few people, basically said she can't be competitive because her healing is inconsistent. And then people are like, oh, inconsistent healing's bad. Yeah, shouldn't do that. But you don't ask yourself, well, you didn't ask yourself, why is it inconsistent and why is that bad? So you go into the fact of like inconsistent healing. Why is that a problem? Well, people can't hit shots. And then you ask yourself the big question that pretty much the higher up people that were trying to figure out ask themselves of why? Why is it a problem? Why is hitting shots a problem? What if we just had better accuracy? And then suddenly it was like, oh, what if we were actually good at Ana? Okay. Yeah, then she could be good. Which is kind of entertaining. So never just say never. Characters will always be better. Likewise, I think I'm running into it with Hammond. Which was like 2 Strat Chats ago, where I basically did a VOD review of Hammond gameplay from contenders, and not all of them were perfect. In fact, none of them were perfect. Fun fact. And so just always look into that. Trying to think of what else. I think I've hit the end of my leash. I think I've ran out overall. So if any of you guys have any questions, we'll go over this next map. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Moving forward, I'll open it up to chat, talking about competitive and stuff like that. I imagine that the people that are usually here have kind of checked out because it's a lot of stuff. Basically, if you're watching this, you're already knowledgeable to a point that this isn't really necessary. But it sure does help. Buzz, what did I miss? I don't know, man. You're going to have to watch it back. Kidding. Well, we talked about, of course, being competitive, how to get better, team ideas, how to form a team, all this different type of stuff. And then we also did this cool trick with Hammond that super broken and is going to be super meta. We're going to be doing it in practice, so hope you saw that part. But besides that, we're just going through the maps right now and going through questions. If you have any questions specifically. I'm back. I left for 10 minutes. Ha ha. Oh, can't put the wool over your eyes. Ha. So yeah, going through stuff. That one's already... Windows are hard because they have roofs. Here we go. Those are always better to set things up and go. This is the more fun map for Hammond. for a couple reasons. One, there's a lot of miniature high grounds like this. Boom, allows you to roll up. See, like, so many different places that you don't even need to use grapple, which are going to be good for some people that can't really get into those positions to use grapple. But it's also better to not have to use grapple to use it, because then you can do this, and then you're swinging around, and you're out. Different type of stuff, always great. Ugh, I hate those. Hate those type of jumps. You have to have a little bit of momentum coming into it. Boom, there we go. You're excited, yeah. But competitive stuff's kind of entertaining. I'm mainly doing this strat chat right now is because I've ran into a bunch of people recently who have absolutely no idea, and so I want this to serve as kind of like an introduction to being competitive, and to kind of warn them of the scary thing known as content fallacies, which is a thing. Content fallacies are a problem right now, mainly just because people get information secondhand. Like on YouTube, you're hearing me and you're trusting me 100%. Likewise, I want to explain things so that you understand. That's kind of where I run off of. If you can believe me or not believe me, but you also need at the same time to think about stuff as well. And I will try to explain so that you can better understand it yourself, so you can be better overall. And of course, understand if I'm wrong. I could be wrong. Who knows? But if you learn, you can figure out if I'm right or not. Fun stuff there. Things with this map. Pillars are nice. Pillars are super nice. Yeah, you can run across those. There's technically where you can bounce on top of those, which is pretty nice overall. That's always too low of a roof. Oh, so this map has one feature that's going to be fun in a custom game. For those of you wondering, yes. Hit that pylon. For those of you wondering, yes, it's Hammond ball. We basically have 2 basketball hoops. Think about it. Think about it. Score! So yeah, what would be good characters in this? Hammond would be like necessary as the ball. You could possibly have it just be Hammond. And then have like other Hammonds. You need a lot of people that are decent at Hammond to actually get it to go. People who are just spending most of their time, trying to figure out a good example of that kind of stuff. Most people that are just spending most of their time just doing this the entire time, probably not going to do well in this game mode. And that would be difficult. Ooh, fun fact. It still exists. Yep, you can do that. It's a thing. I'm trying to figure out what else. Rip. It's hard to do this at 150 ping. But I'm doing it. Anything on Hammond before I finish up? If anyone has any questions on Hammond. Technically, you don't need to pile drive all the time with Hammond on that one. You just can. So you can get to the point that way. That's like a severe hook shot. So hooking underneath. Yeah, see. But a lot of times you're going to want a pile drive, so I think that's possibly Hammond's best. This is Hammond's best part of the map. Could be better if they fix the temple area, because you never know. Because it's the skybox is so low that you can barely move. Fire off. That'd be funny if you could actually just rock it out. I think that'd be a very fun feature. Of you just like, you start going and it will just launch you off if you touch that part. Be a good like environmental kill. Boot people into it. You can't hook all the way to point. I want to see if you can hook all the way over to the other area. The other high ground. Let's see. I'm gonna get this done. Deflates casually. Excuse me while I casually deflate. Ugh. I'm gonna blame it all on lag. Nope, that's not gonna go anywhere. Let's work my way up because I don't want to actually. There we go. A lot easier to get back. Nope. I need farther. I'm gonna try to get all the way to the other high ground from here. Is it viable? Probably not. Oh! Okay, you have to roll across that. That is a must. You have to hit that corner, that bottom corner, because it allows you to dip underneath. It gives you more downward play, so lower is better on that. Here we go. No. You can get onto the point from there. Besides that, not that big. I think this is probably the moment where people click off the video. Oh, you can also do this kind of stuff. Fun fact. Those are so basic, though. Those are for people that just started playing Hammond, learning that stuff. Pretty basic stuff. You get straight in there. As far as I know, there's no way to actually get up there. I tried. I tried doing like a cool rotation around inside there real quick, but you just end up getting kicked out. You can't really climb, and then you can't go up. Yeah, let me see if I can. Let me see if I can. Nope. Yeah, you can't roll up that easily. You have to do it from here. Nope. Yeah, I'm thinking. Too far, I think. Yep, can't do it. Quite a bummer. Oh, and you can also go up here through any. Okay. I never click off streams. Yep, good point. Thanks, man. Anime visual novels. You mean movies, TV shows, whatever. All good. Yeah, I think question time has come to the end. Come to the end of question time, and that means we are at the end of the live stream. Of course, if any of you guys want to see more of these kind of live streams, last time we talked about the new Sombra and how to play her, especially with a team as well. We talked about that. We've talked about how to play Overwatch on a budget. We've talked about communication, all that kind of stuff. So if you like that kind of stuff, we do this every Friday. I say we, but it's usually just me. Do this every Friday, 3:30 Mountain Standard Time. Of course, it might change due to my schedule. Might do it earlier, might have it on a different day, but at the moment, 3:30 is working pretty nice. So, and then of course keep up to date. I do post a bunch of update information. This was going to be at 3:30, but I was able to do 4:30, but I was able to do this at 3:30 instead, which was great. So setting all that stuff is all good, but I do all that update information on Twitter at dryd3n001. Lost connection to game server. My life in a nutshell. Server connection failed. Let's just go to the American server. What's wrong with that? Let me go. But yeah, setting that stuff up is all good there. And then of course Dryden001 on Twitch and Dryden001 on YouTube respectively. So I do post these on to YouTube afterwards, and I do post different things on YouTube. I have a Minecraft series right now, and I do post different things on here because I do live streams and stuff like that. Might have some crossover, but just kind of goofing around most of the time. So thank you everyone for watching. Oh, got Golden Guns Buzz. You like them? We'll wait. NA stream lol. I forgot that Hammond keeps his momentum. So when I pressed the escape button, it was a little awkward. Yeah. Golden Gun boys. See ya, Buzz. See ya, everyone. Bye.